All right, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Highlight Reel and another edition of our weekly World Championship Grassroots podcast coverage. I'm coming at y'all not quite so live from a very rainy, very stormy evening here in Nashville, Tennessee. So, apologies if you hear any rain or any thunder in this episode of the podcast, because, like I said, it is storming like a motherfucker outside. So apologies if that sucks, or maybe it will enhance the experience and it'll make it super dope and vibey and relaxing. So apologies if it sucks, but if it turns out to be awesome, then I did it on purpose and I deserve all the credit. Welcome back to another show. There has been quite a lot that's happened over the past week and a half or so. It's been a very eventful past few days. So we've got a lot of stuff to talk about this week. Yeah, first things first, obviously, biggest thing going on here in the next few days is we have the HCS London Major hosted by Quadrant. That is coming up at the end of this week. The day that you guys see this should be Monday, I believe. So as you are watching or listening to this, if it's day of or within the first couple days of release, we have London coming up at the end of this week. So stay tuned definitely to the official Halo channels for that, because it is going to be a very, very exciting weekend of competitive Halo action. I'm sure if you're listening to the podcast or if you're watching the show, you're probably already into Halo and you're probably already planning on watching it. But just in case you weren't, or just in case perhaps you came across my ship by random, definitely go check that out, because it's going to be sick. Definitely be sure to check out. It should be just Halo on Twitch, or it'll probably be like HCS or Halo Esports on YouTube. But it'll be live all weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I will also be live co-streaming the whole thing. With hopefully we should have some Twitch drops as well. Should be a great time. So whether you're watching with me or watching the official Halo channels, definitely be sure to check that out. But yeah, obviously, huge event, and it's crazy to think that it's only the second event of the season, given that Arlington, our season opener, was in mid-March, towards the end of March, I think. So it's been 2 months, maybe even a little bit more, since the last major. But we did get a little bit of a land preview with the LVT Titans of Orlando tournament. Sorry, I'm looking over here. If you're watching this, I have the calendar pulled up once again. But the LVT Orlando Titans, or Titans of Orlando event just took place this past week as well, which we are going to talk a little bit about in a minute. But just talk about London real quick. Obviously, very excited. It's going to be a huge event. The first international major that we've had for Halo since, I believe, the 2018 season, the last season for Halo 5. I believe the last major event that we had that was like an international major was HCS London that year in 2018. I believe that was a Gfinity event, if I'm not mistaken. Or it was hosted by them. However it worked back then. But yeah, super, super exciting. Very excited to. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to go. The dates were announced pretty late, a little bit too close to the actual event for me to be able to organize and swing the travel. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be there. It's going to be the second event in the row that I will have missed after not having missed a single event through all of Halo Infinite. So I'm a little bit bummed about that, but it is still going to be cool to chill and co-stream it. And like I said, super cool to finally get another international major. And I know for all of the international Halo fans, especially the European Halo fans and the people that are going to be able to attend, that's going to be really cool. But also just to touch on like the dates thing again, because I know that's been kind of a consistent theme, something that people have problems with, and hopefully, because it was also a thing with HCS Atlanta, which was only just recently announced. But hopefully going forward in the future, we can have the dates ironed out a little bit better for these majors, and be able to announce them a little earlier so that more people can plan things and plan travel and request time off of work and whatever else they have to do, because this whole like announcing the event a month before it happens is super unfortunate for a lot of reasons, but obviously chief among those is like it makes it really, really hard for people to be able to go. which at this point in Halo's life cycle, obviously, I think we need to be doing everything we can to make it as accessible as possible and as easy as possible and give as much notice as possible because we want people to show up to these events, right? Because, I mean, who knows how long this shit's going to last, and who knows how long we're going to be playing Halo Infinite, or who knows how even good the next game is going to be. For a long time, we've kind of been up and down with how Halo stuff has been going and been kind of waiting on the next thing. But I mean, like, we're not guaranteed anything. You never know if the next thing might come. And I don't say that to be like pessimistic, but I just say that to say like I want to enjoy every single one of these events. Like I want to get the most out of the experience, and like it sucks that people might not be able to experience the event part of being a Halo fan, because that part of the experience for me is like the whole best part of the shit. Like I grew up playing Halo, watching Halo, the whole shit. I grew up playing the campaigns and loving the books and the lore, and then I got into the competitive stuff and I was watching the tournaments and all the stuff, and then I finally was able to get involved on another level in Halo 5 until the point where I'm going to the events and experiencing it, and like that, just the general brotherhood family vibe and the camaraderie with all the different people that you see at all these events and the friendships that you form and the experiences that you have watching the sick matches and seeing all these players that you've idolized for so long, and just it's the culmination of so many different things. And like I said, in my opinion, it's like the chief part of the experience of being a Halo fan and being a fan of like the esports side of the game. So yeah, I just hope going forward it's more accessible and easier for people to go. And that being said, I just ranted about that for however long the last couple minutes, but we do have the dates announced already for the last 2 events after Atlanta. Yeah, we'll have 5 majors in total this year. There was the Arlington opener that was in March. We have London at the end of this week. There's HCS Atlanta, which was just announced, which is at the end of July. And then I believe HCS Salt Lake City, which is hosted by SSG, will be in September. I think it's mid-September, or maybe early. And then the World Championship will be in Seattle in October again. So we do know the dates for the rest of those, which I'm very excited for. And I think I can go ahead and say as well, I should be at the rest of the events this year. Like I said, unfortunately, I will not be at London, but I should be at Atlanta, Salt Lake City, and the World Championship to end off the year. So if you have plans to go to any of those tournaments, let me know. Let me know down in the comments. And also, if we get there however many months down the line, definitely be sure to come hit me up, because I always love running into different people and meeting people at the tournaments. Like I was just talking about, meeting people and forming those sort of lasting friendships and relationships and connections with different people is like the best part of it, bro. There's so many people that I've become tight with over the years that I gamed with them on Halo back in the day and I hung out with them at tournaments, or maybe they're just people I met at tournaments, either by playing them through the open bracket or hanging out, sitting in the crowd, just meeting random people, or like, bro, the amount of people that I've met just like waiting in line, waiting in the registration line to get passes for the weekend, like, all kinds of stuff like that. Like people that I know and love and are my like close friends, and people that I've talked to for years and years and years. A great example of this is Lalo Muggsy, shout out to Lalo Muggsy, who runs all the HCS socials and works with the Halo guys. But that's one of our best friends, and we just knew him through Halo and going to tournaments, and we just hung out at an event one time and ended up becoming super close homies. And now that's my boy for however many fucking years. It's been 6 years or however long we've known him. And even to a greater extent, all my entire CX crew, Cole, Tyler, Dallas, Justin, obviously, Prox, Samaritan, all these people that I've played with for years and years and years that if you know me, you probably know so well. I met them online and joined their team, and within 3 weeks, I had hung out with them at a tournament, and those guys became my best friends. And it's been now 8 or 9 years since then, and those are all my best friends in the world that I talk to every single day. So I know we kind of got off track and kind of ranted about that for a few minutes, but I just wanted to say that, like, that's why events are so sick. That's why that's why they're so important to me. That's why I talk about them a lot, so much all the time, is because like that is just such an important part of the experience for me. So yeah, just a general PSA: if you have the chance to go to a tournament, definitely go, because it is 1000% worth it. You will absolutely not regret it. But yeah, just to get back on track, HCS London obviously coming up at the end of this week. If I have to give any sort of predictions, I would probably say SSG. I think is going to win it. SSG looks absolutely dominant at the moment. They look unbeatable. The duo of Bound and Legend just looks completely unguardable. Legend, I think, might be the greatest player in Halo Infinite, and also might be the greatest Halo player in history. I don't know. I've also never, fun facts, also somewhat unrelated, I've never seen anybody run a flag as fast as Legend has. That brother is absolutely different. But yeah, if I had to guess, I think SSG is probably going to take it. FaZe and Optic obviously still look pretty good. It's going to be very interesting to see. We have obviously the new Proton team, which is, we talked about it in the last episode, but it's Druck, Collect, Talik, and Last Shot, I think. But they look really good. They're one of my sleeper teams for the weekend. Obviously, you have Sentinels with Precision in place of Sparty. You have Complexity with now Sparty in place of Precision. And obviously, it's going to be super interesting to see Sparty and Ryan on the same team again. Have the new Native team with Gilkey as their fourth. Just a lot of different teams to look out for and a lot of different things. Obviously, Bo with whoever they signed with, whoever their new organization is. I believe, which I think they announced on Twitter the other day, but I don't remember the name of the team they signed with. But then also obviously Quadrant, it's their major, they're hosting. So there's so many teams. I don't think there's ever been a point in Halo Infinite where the competition has been as deep as it is at the moment. It is there's just so many good teams that I feel like could contest for the top 6 and the top 8, and even potentially break into the top 3 and upset and upset one of our big 3 teams. I didn't even mention fucking Shopify Rebellion, who's been getting like second or first in all of the online cups leading up to this event, who also got second at the Orlando event, which again we will talk about in a second. But yeah, there's never been a better time. There's never been a more competitive, more sweaty time in Halo Infinite than there has been here in year 3 thus far. And that's super awesome. And it just echoes, I think a bunch of people have talked about it recently, but it just kind of echoes the patterns from previous titles where year 3 of the game, season 3 of the game, always tends to be the most competitive because the meta sort of adapts and shifts and people have kind of gotten used to the game and there's a lot more good teams. And I don't know, it's super sick. Usually I feel like those first couple years of a game always sort of go to that same similar, like there's 1 or 2 teams, but really there's one team that wins most of the events. And so like just this season, and over the course of the past few events, we've had, I think 3 different champions over the past 3 different events, because SSG just won the opener in Arlington, FaZe won the World Championship at the end of last year, and Optic won Fort Worth, which was the event right before Champs last year. So obviously I'm cheating and including events from last year, but that being said, like just being at the point in the game where there are multiple teams that can contend for winning the event at any given time, being able to go into the weekend and say like, I think this team's going to win it, but I'm really not sure, instead of saying, oh, CLG is going to win it, or oh, Optic's going to win it, or oh, it's just going to be this, or it's just going to be that. Like, it's super interesting and super fun, and I'm very, very excited to watch all of the competition unfold in London this weekend. So like I said, be sure to stay tuned to all the official Halo channels, whether you're watching on Twitch or YouTube. I just got a Steam message on my computer. That's really weird. That just popped up on my screen. But yeah, also, like I said, I will be co-streaming it. Hopefully we will have the Twitch drops and it'll be a whole dope setup. But yeah, be sure to check out the Twitch stream, which is linked in the description of every single one of these, but also twitch.tv/Reclixmer. It's Reclaimer with an X instead of an A. Go check us out. We're streaming pretty much every single day, and like I said, going to be co-streaming all of the Infinite action coming from London this weekend. The time zones should be rather interesting because obviously the event is in London, so it's going to be on their local time. So I believe the matches, for my time zones, I believe the matches start at like 5 a.m. So it might be a little interesting to figure out. We might have to get up early. But hopefully, like I said, it should be a great weekend of some great Halo competition. And I'm sure it will be because if any of the competition leading up to this has told us anything, rather, is that this shit is going to be crazy. And speaking of, we've been talking a lot about the Open Series and the qualifiers recently, but in the past week or so, actually just last week, we had the LVT Titans of Orlando tournament. I talked a little bit about it in the last episode, but I think we talked about it like the day before the event or something like that. So it was a super sick event. Obviously, it was run by 2050 and hosted by LVT, and I believe Orlando Esports was the name of the people. But it was a collaboration between a couple different people, or a couple different companies or brands rather. And they ran a $12,500 prize pool LAN event in Orlando. They had a dope venue. It was right on iDrive in Orlando. Super sick venue, super sick event. And yeah, with LVT running all the broadcasting and all the hosting, it ran, from what I could tell as a spectator, it ran completely flawlessly. They had dope setups. It was a completely one of the things that HCS has caught flack for over the past couple years of majors is that the open bracket is played on Xboxes instead of PCs, where the main stage matches and like the featured stage matches are all played on PCs. So it's kind of weird if you have to go through the open bracket. They had a full PC open bracket at the LVT Orlando event, which was super sick. The broadcast was flawless and super sick. It was a lot of fun. It's a little less formal, obviously, than a major because it wasn't like, obviously it wasn't an HCS major, so they didn't have to be super professional for the sponsors or anything. You know, they were kind of kicking back, and you know they were swearing and being goofy and laughing on the broadcast, and it was just a great time. And there was also some really, really good Halo played. I believe the only actual pro team that attended with their complete, like with their full roster, was Shopify Rebellion, who obviously they attended trying to get a little bit of extra practice before London. But the most notable team I think that everybody was most excited to see was Team GBX, which was the roster that consisted of Bound, Legend, Renegade, and Tusk, which that team was exactly as exciting as everybody thought it was going to be. They ended up playing Shopify Rebellion. Obviously, those two teams were pretty clearly the two best teams at the event. But they ended up playing Shopify Rebellion in the winners finals. And in the finals, I believe they 3-0'd them, like a hot-ass 3-0 in the winners finals. And in the finals was a battle. Shopify came from losers and reset the bracket. And then I believe Team GBX was able to take it in the reset. There was a lot of shit talk. There was a lot of hype. It was a very like local LAN feel where it was just like everybody was in the trenches together. There's no like, nobody's up on stage. There's no sound canceling. There's no crowd noise. There's no like, it's just brothers sitting in a LAN center right next to each other, just playing Halo, screaming, talking shit to each other. It was just that great sort of open event, sort of local LAN event vibe. And it was super cool. Obviously, I put in a video earlier this week, which was one of the games from it, probably the most notable game of the entire tournament. And one of the better games we've seen in all of Halo Infinite was the Aquarius flag that was played as, I believe it was game one of the winners finals between Shopify and GBX. And Shopify was up 4-1. Obviously, it's first of 5 flags on Aqua. But they were up 4-1 with, I think, like 2 minutes left, 2.5 minutes left. And running in the winning flag, and GBX Bound makes an insane play, gets a goal line stand, gets a double, stops the winning flag, and then I shit you not, these brothers capped 4 flags in 2 minutes to win the game before regulation even expired. 4 flags in 2 minutes, absolutely flipped the script, won the game 5-4. It's the craziest comeback, one of the craziest CTFs games I've seen, not only in Halo Infinite, but in Halo period ever. One of the sickest games ever, and I know I just spoiled it, but I'm sure a bunch of you have probably seen it at this point. If you're still interested in checking it out, my reaction is up on my channel. You can also go check out that game in its entirety. I think by itself, just the way it was aired on the broadcast. If you go to the LVT Halo channel, which, by the way, shout out to LVT. Obviously they ran the event, but also like they've had me as a co-streamer for all their events for the past few weeks. For the Orlando event, they had me as a co-streamer for that. They had me as a co-streamer for all the Open Series and all that stuff. So shout out to LVT. Them brothers do it right. A lot of friends of the channel over there. Yeah, that was pretty much it for the Orlando event. Like I said, those were kind of the only two notable teams that attended were GBX and Shopify Rebellion. But they had some insane matches, and it was a ton of fun to watch. It was a great sort of preview for a lot of the competition that we're going to get here in London later this week. Yeah, very, very exciting. So other than that, that's kind of it for the competitive stuff to kind of round out just sort of our HCS stuff in the State of the Union for the week. The only other thing of note that took place last week was we had a grassroots HCS playdate that was myself, Eli X, Real Life Spartan, and Ubernick, and we just ended up playing some ranked and enjoying some games. But Ubernick actually, I think he had something come up, or he had plans or something, or he couldn't make it. So he actually ended up subbing in Lalo Muggsy, which, again, shout out Lalo Muggsy. We were talking about him earlier in the episode. But we subbed him in. So it was actually me, Eli, RLS, and Lalo. And we had a ton of fun. Just basically played ranked for like 3 or 4 hours. Had a great time. A lot of really sweaty, intense games. And like, bro, like it's something that we don't get to experience very often. Because for instance, like with me and Eli, that the 1600 cap for 4 stacks becomes a problem, because once we get above 1600, obviously you can't 4 stack. So those sort of vibes of like, I just remember, I have years and years and years of Halo history of just, those super fun vibes of just playing with my friends, 4 stacking, sometimes sweating super hard, but sometimes goofing around, just playing with the homies. Like, bro, those late nights of Q and Halo at 4 a.m. and, playing against the same guys, the same team of 4, like, 4 games in a row, and it turns into like a fucking war in the matchmaking playlist. Like, just those vibes, dude. Sweaty, competitive Halo, winning close games, losing close games, making comebacks, the whole shit. I miss it, and it's something that I don't get to experience very often. And so it was a ton of fun. We sort of kind of had to plan it, because it was the beginning of the ranked split, obviously a week or 2 ago, and so we all had to play our placement games and get all our placement games done, but then not play anymore, so that we didn't rank up and we could play together. Which, it's kind of, like I said, it's unfortunate that we kind of have to jump through those hoops at this point, and I wish that the 4 stack limit was higher than 1600. Like, I wish the cap was higher. I think it should be like 17 or 1800. I really think it should be like 1800, because I mean, like, I don't know, there's still like with all due respect, I can very easily get Onyx 1650 or 1700 every season, very easily, and I am not that good at the game. I am nowhere near pro caliber at this game, and I'm sure like other people could probably tell you, like, once you start getting into like Onyx 1900, 2000, like, those are like the sweaty kids, the motherfuckers that grind the game, the brothers that are actually really good and that you don't want to run into. I'm obviously like, I think I'm pretty good at the game, but a lot of people can get 1600, and I think making the cap for the 4 stacking 1600 is just a little bit too low, because I don't know, for all the reasons I just said. I don't need to repeat myself, but yeah, I just wish it was a little bit higher. I wish we could have experiences like that a little more often. But yeah, it made for a dope stream, and obviously we've had a couple games over the past couple weeks from those ranked sessions go up on the YouTube channel, and I'm probably going to have a bunch more over the next week or 2. I have a ton of games that were super cool, and a bunch of them that are going to end up going on the channel. So yeah, that was super dope. In that same vein, we've been kind of going apeshit with the content recently, and it's been a ton of fun. I've really been enjoying the grind as of recent. I think we talked about it a little bit last week, but there kind of hasn't been a ton of stuff going on with Halo in terms of the game recently. Like, I haven't had much reason or desire to play Halo Infinite recently, because there's not a whole lot of interesting stuff happening with the game. However, there's been a bunch of stuff with HCS and with esports. There's been a couple new games that have come out recently that have kind of gotten my attention. I've been really enjoying playing a bunch of single player games. Plus, we've just been kind of going apeshit on the content recently. I've been uploading every day or every other day for the past like 2 or 3 weeks. We've been getting out a ton of consistent content. This is my, I don't know, like this is the 8th episode of this, so I think this is my 7th week straight of now doing this show, which has been a ton of fun. I'm really enjoying the process as of recently, and I hope that is showing in my stuff and my personality and whatever else recently. But also, I hope the content itself has been good, because uh, I have never been. I'm definitely like a little bit self-conscious. Like, I'm probably as self-conscious as the next person. I definitely worry about what people think of things, but also the way that I've always made content is I've never worried about what's doing the best or what's getting the most clicks or what's the most trendy, or like, I'm not like necessarily trying to cheese the algorithm in certain ways. I've always just made the content that I would like to watch, the stuff that I don't know. I've always just made stuff that I enjoy and that I would like to watch myself if I were the viewer. The best example I have of that is uh, Zero to Hero. I essentially, that idea is just from watching Scump and Nadeshot and people back in the day do live commentaries on Black Ops 2 League play, and just playing competitive stuff and doing live commentaries and explaining the thoughts and like the sort of raw personality driven shit. Like, bro, I'm still making videos and content based off of the stuff that I watched 10 years ago. My stream highlights and my highlight videos are very heavily based off of like the old Nick Merckx stream highlights from years and years ago. This is obviously like Nick Merckx, you probably can't find any of this stuff now, but back in the day, he this is probably 2015, 2016, 2017. Nick Merckx used to be one of my favorite streamers back when he played COD, because he was also like a competitive COD guy, played a lot of Search and Destroy. But the way I format my stream highlights is very much like inspired by those old Nick Merckx stream highlights, which, like I said, unfortunately, I don't think you can find those anymore because he's obviously a massive, like one of the biggest creators in the world now. But very much inspired by those old Nick Merckx videos, and also the Russian Badger, who's a very well-known creator. If you have watched or seen any, like, I knew him most for Battlefield back in the day, but I think he's just kind of a huge creator in general these days. But yeah, I've just kind of always made content in that sort of fashion, just stuff that I watched when I was younger that I really enjoyed, that I wanted to sort of recreate and put my own spin on. And yeah, like I said, I've just really been enjoying the process recently, and I hope that it's been able to show. But yeah, that being said, we have been going apeshit on Halo stuff, and we're going to continue to do so. But also, we have introduced XDefiant to the mix. It's been a whole lot of XDefiant recently for me on stream and just kind of in general over the past couple of days. It released, I guess, from the point that y'all are watching or listening to this, I guess 4 or 5 days ago. But I've been really enjoying it. It's been a huge breath of fresh air for me as somebody who loves Halo and COD and sort of those sweaty console first-person shooters. It's been a super nice breath of fresh air and sort of a nice break from sort of playing a lot of Halo and doing a lot of Halo stuff. Like I said, I'm a big fan of Call of Duty and a lot of the old Call of Duties in particular. So it's really fun to play that game because I had sort of been having that itch as well recently to play Call of Duty, but I didn't want to play actual Call of Duty because actual Call of Duty, whenever you play it, is not that fun. But XDefiant has definitely been scratching that itch. It's been a lot of fun, and I uploaded my first video of it the other day, and it did pretty well, actually. Whenever you upload a new game whenever I upload something to this channel that's not like a Halo video, there's always not the expectation, but there's always the chance that like just nobody watches it, because like, especially back in the day, it was much more dramatic. Like, I would upload a Halo video and it might get 2,000 views, and then I could upload a Call of Duty video the next day and it might get 200. And that's just kind of the way it is. And so you kind of have to understand that that's the case whenever you're putting it up. And so when I uploaded that video, I uploaded it and knew that there was fully a chance that that video might get 90 views, might just get 100 views. And that was going to be perfectly okay with me. But it seems like it's done pretty decent for those standards, and it's gotten a decent amount of views for the number that my channel pulls. And so yeah, if it's something that people enjoy and something that I can continue to play and enjoy, and everybody enjoys watching it, then hopefully that's something that we can introduce to the rotation. I'm not prepared to say I'm like switching to XDefiant or anything, because obviously that game's only been out for like 4 days. But I have been enjoying it. It's been a nice breath of fresh air. If we can mix it into the rotation and sort of add it to the content, and and sort of deepen our bag a little bit, I think that's nothing but good things. But yeah, it's been a ton of fun. If you're not aware of what XDefiant is, it's essentially like a Ubisoft hero shooter with all of their different IPs. But the best way I can describe it is it's like a 50-50 hybrid of like Call of Duty and Overwatch. There's a lot of game types like there's one, they have obviously game types that are basically domination and hardpoint, or King of the Hill. They have one that's very similar to Control or like Rush from Battlefield, that's like you capture 2 zones. They have like a payload mode, which is obviously if you played Overwatch or like TF2 or anything, you're very familiar with that kind of thing. But yeah, it's a hero shooter. It's essentially got like COD shooting mechanics, like arcadey COD shooting mechanics with hero abilities from all the different Ubisoft IPs, which is actually very cool. I didn't know that going into the game. I knew it was made by Ubisoft, but I didn't know it was like a compilation of all of their different IPs. So like all the different factions and characters that you can play as in the game are all the different from all the different Ubisoft games. So there's a third echelon faction that's all the secret agents from Splinter Cell. There's a Watch Dogs faction that's I think called DedSec, and they're like it's based around hacking and like disrupting and stuff like that. There is like a fire character with a flamethrower who's from the Division. And I think I'm trying to remember what the other one is. There's Watch Dogs, there's Splinter Cell, there's Far Cry. There's one of the factions from Far Cry. And with it being a Ubisoft thing, I'm very hopeful in the future that they will add some Assassin's Creed stuff, because obviously if you know me, you know I motherfucking love the Assassin's Creed games. So obviously that would be super cool, and I would very much like to see some of that in the game, even if it's not one of the factions, even if it's just like a skin or something, that would be super sick. But yeah, if you're interested in trying out XDefiant, it's super cool. That sounded like a fucking sponsor, like an ad read when I said it. I promise you it's not. But it is a dope game. It's been a lot of fun. So if you are kind of interested in that sort of arcadey COD mechanics, Overwatch, hero shooter, it's nothing super serious or sweaty, but it's a lot of fun. I think one of the main draws to it is that it does not have skill-based matchmaking. So a lot of people are very high on it at the moment because it's free to play. There's no skill-based matchmaking. So obviously one of the main complaints for games over the past few years between Halo, Call of Duty, everything is that matches are just sweaty now. There's hidden ranks and hidden MMR and skill-based matchmaking, and every game feels like the world championship, and people are split over which side of the fence they're on about it. And but yeah, it's definitely super interesting and super fun, so I would definitely recommend going and checking it out. But yeah, Content Grind has been a ton of fun recently, and I've been sort of trying to think of different ways to improve and get better at all the different shits. And obviously we've introduced a bunch of different things over the past couple months. We've been doing this show weekly. We've been making sure to do Zero to Hero weekly and sort of introducing some new gimmicks and challenges and stuff to that. But the other thing that I sort of wanted to bring back into the mix that I wanted to sort of ask y'all about was Patreon, which is something that we've a resource that we've used for years for a couple different things. Back in Halo 5, I remember a bunch of specifically Halo creators had Patreons, and it was sort of centered around the format was very like this is just kind of like if you want to help me or if you want to throw me a little extra money, you know, like if you enjoy what I do as a creator and you want to just help me out and help me improve my stuff, you can do this to kind of throw me a couple extra bucks. And we used to do it that way, but I've been thinking about bringing back my Patreon and sort of relaunching it. It's still up, by the way. So if you want to go check it out, it's actually loud ass thunderclap. But it's actually linked on my channel and in every single one of my videos and everything. You can go find it. But I want to bring my Patreon back into the mix and sort of change the format around to have, I want to have like actual content over there, like extra bonus content. So this is kind of what I'm thinking at the moment, and let me know what y'all are thinking. and if y'all would be in any way interested in this, or if not. But I was kind of thinking about bringing the Patreon back and sort of having it as like a behind the scenes and early access content model. It's a thing that I see a lot of like specifically like reaction channels do. They'll have like full unedited and uncensored stuff on their Patreon. But I thought it might be cool if we do like some exclusive stuff over there. So say like I do a couple extra podcast episodes per month that are exclusive to the Patreon, a couple extra, maybe an extra Zero to Hero episode or some VOD breakdowns or, VOD reviews or stuff that's like exclusive to that. And maybe I was thinking about doing some like behind the scenes, like maybe videos of me, like a video of me editing a Zero to Hero episode or editing a Halo video so that like we could sort of go into the process in that way. But yeah, I want to bring back the Patreon, but I want to have it less be like here's a way to donate to me and have it more be like this is some extra content if you're interested. So yeah, let me know. I don't really know the best way to approach it, but those are just kind of some of the ideas I have. So if you would be interested in any of that stuff, like I said, VOD reviews, behind the scenes content, early stuff. So like say if I was gonna upload Zero to Hero on a Sunday on the YouTube channel, maybe it goes live on like a Thursday, 2 or 3 days before on the Patreon, something like that. Just maybe like some extra perks and some extra things. But obviously, if that's something that people don't care about or if there's no demand for it, then maybe I won't worry about it. But I thought it might be interesting and sort of another thing to sort of, like I said, deepen our bag and sort of get better at the whole content creation thing. So, like I said, let me know if you guys think that's a good idea or a bad idea, if you'd be any interested in that or not. But yeah, if you do want to see more about that or if you're curious about that at all, there's going to be a link in the description. There's a link in the description of every single video. It's also on my Twitch. It's on my channel. But yeah, you just go to patreon.com/reclaimer. You should be able to see all that stuff. And I will say also, there's I think 3 or 4 people that have remained patrons over the last couple of years, and I think somebody actually became like a $20 patron like a few months ago. But shout out to those people. I'm not going to specifically name them in case they don't want that. But yeah, there have been a few people that have remained patrons through the years that have just kind of thrown me a couple extra bucks here and there. And that's another thing to mention is that it's not like a super expensive thing. Like I think the tier to access all the stuff is going to be like $3. So it would just be like a couple extra dollars. It's not like a $50 thing or like a whole extra subscription or whatever else. But yeah, I'm not trying to pull a watcher and put all my shit on like a separate platform. You know what I'm saying? I thought it might be a cool extra bonus thing. But yeah, sort of going along with the content stuff. The stream has been going super well recently. That's been a ton of fun. Obviously, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, we've been on a bunch of XDefiant recently. We've been grinding the shit out of that. But also, we have been killing our single-player games recently. Been talking about it over the past few weeks in the different episodes. But we just finished up the Grand Theft Auto series. We finished GTA 4 and 5, which those games were obviously a ton of fun. We played a couple Call of Duty campaigns in the sort of interim as sort of like a palate cleanser. So we played the Infinite Warfare campaign and the World War II campaign, because I believe we started at COD 2 and we played all of them, which I believe then means for COD campaigns, I think we only have like a couple left. I believe after the World War II campaign, there's like, I think it's the Modern Warfare 2019 campaign. And then at that point, there's only like 3 or 4 left. But then also we're picking back up with the Assassin's Creed games. So we just, or actually, sorry, I forgot about this, but we just finished Hogwarts Legacy. That was the other big thing that we were working on. We just finished that actually like 2 nights ago, which we just finished the main story for that. That was a ton of fun. Really enjoyed that. And now that we're done with that, we're doing another Assassin's Creed game. Because like I said, or like I started to say a second ago, we had been working through the Assassin's Creed games. So I played through AC2 all the way through Black Flag, which we played a few months ago. And then we had sort of taken a break, played a few other games. And now we are starting Assassin's Creed Rogue. So that one's a little bit shorter. Obviously, for those of you that don't know, Rogue is like sort of that spin-off. It was released in the console jump year. So it came out in between Black Flag and I think it came out at the same time as Unity. So it's sort of like an ODST to Black Flag, where it's like it's another game using the Assassin's Creed 4 engine, but it's a sort of shorter, just kind of an extra game. But that'll be fun to sort of get back on the Assassin's Creed vibes and make some more progress on working through those games. Like I said, we've been playing through most of them, and I've been back sort of on the Assassin's Creed wave, excited about it again ever since they released the trailer for Assassin's Creed Shadows last week, which is also super cool. And that's going to be the new Assassin's Creed game that's set in feudal Japan that's coming out, I believe, this November. So that'll be super cool. We're definitely going to be checking that out when it comes out. But yeah, we're going to continue to work through the Assassin's Creed games. I believe after Rogue, we have Unity, and then it goes Syndicate, and then I think it's the RPG games, Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla. And I believe at that point we're to Mirage, which that's the most recent one, and we're caught up. But yeah, playing a ton of games. Obviously, over the last couple episodes, I've been talking about Mass Effect a lot. That's probably going to be the next big RPG project that we play through on stream. But yeah, between playing Halo and doing a bunch of Halo stuff and watching Halo and Halo tournaments and also playing all of these single player games and now XDefiant, there's just been a ton of stuff that we've been playing. The stream has been a blast recently, and yeah, definitely be sure to go check us out. We're live pretty much every single day, as well as the usual plug, the second channel, all of our VODs and rebroadcasts and everything for every stream I do go over there. Everything's organized in nice, neat little playlists over there as well. It's very nice. So if you hear me talk about something or reference something in particular on this, on this podcast, if I talk about my GTA 4 playthrough, or if I talk about my Hogwarts Legacy playthrough, or that time I played XDefiant, or whatever, you can go and you can find the exact stream that I'm talking about with the exact moment. You can go find the playlist that goes through the entire game. So yeah, go check that out. Like I said, anytime I play a single player game, anytime I watch a tournament, anytime I participate in an HCS or a grassroots event, it's all organized over there. So go check that out if you're not already on that wave. But yeah, stream's been a ton of fun. Also, be sure to go follow us on Twitch, twitch.tv/Reclaimor. That's Reclaimer with an X instead of an A. Excuse me. But yeah, been streaming a ton, and it's been a ton of fun. But been putting in a ton of hours. We also tried recently on Halo this past week. They just released a Call of Duty Zombies mode that's actually in matchmaking right now. If you go play, they released 2 maps with it. It's Call of Duty Zombies made completely in Forge. And they have Nocturne Toten, a remake of that map, which is obviously the first, like the original Call of Duty Zombies map, one of the most iconic from World at War. But then they also have I forget the map's called, but they have another like original one that's just a Halo Zombies map. I put up a video from that as well over this past week, but that was super cool to see, super cool to try. I've obviously been a huge Zombies guy, and speaking of, actually, if I can grab this real quick. A little bit impromptu. I literally have perk bottles over here from Zombies that are set up as part of my little display thing over here. Because Zombies has been one of my other great loves over the past few years. Another one of those things that I have played just for years and years since I was a little ass kid, and another sort of area of content creation that I was super interested as well. One of the things that I haven't said it a lot, but one of the things that I've sort of always had in the back of my head is that if I was not a Halo creator, I would probably have been a Call of Duty Zombies creator, which is funny that my brain works like that, because Call of Duty Zombies is probably in a very similar position in terms of content creation that Halo is in, where they've had a very slow few years and they never really have a whole lot of new stuff to be excited about. And it's always like remembering the glory days and, from years past and shit like that. Which, like, again, I'm not hating on COD Zombies, nor am I hating on Halo, because those are like my 2 favorite things. It's just kind of the reality of both scenes. So maybe I'm attracted to games like that. Maybe that's just how it works. But yeah, that's kind of it for the gaming stuff recently. Cool stuff on Halo, cool stuff on XDefiant. Been streaming a bunch. Been making a ton of content. And yeah, thinking about mixing the Patreon back in. that's kind of the highlights of it all, I think. Other than that, life has been pretty busy recently as well. I know this is kind of a long episode, but like I said, we did have a lot to talk about this week. Uh, but I'll try to race through these last couple of things because that's kind of all the main stuff I wanted to talk about. But yeah, life has been pretty crazy recently, been very eventful, been very busy. It was just recently, this past Saturday was high school graduation day for a lot of the schools here in Nashville where I live. So I had a bunch of friends and family friends and different people that were graduating. And obviously just around this time, it's like a lot of people are graduating. So whether you are graduating, if you are graduating, whether that's from high school or college or whatever it is you're doing, congratulations. And I hope it's awesome. I hope we all have a kick-ass summer. And yeah, I hope it's going to be super great. Speaking of summer, and having a kick-ass summer, I've got a lot of traveling coming up, which I'm very excited about. I think I've talked about this a lot before as well, but my family for years and years and years was not like super big on traveling. You know, I grew up middle class, lower middle class, whatever. Like I never needed anything, but like we didn't have a whole lot of like excess income. We weren't going on crazy trips every year. It was maybe like one road trip to the beach per year type shit with my family. But yeah, as I got older and my brother got older, and we're like, you know, not in school anymore and my parents have less stuff to worry about, we started to travel a lot more. And it was a part of my life that I enjoyed immensely. And it sort of also coincided with, it was the same sort of time that I was graduating high school. So on top of my family traveling more, I was also traveling to tournaments and just sort of all at once. It was like I went from not traveling like almost at all growing up to traveling a ton all the time, and I loved it. And then obviously in 2020 the pandemic happened and there was no like anything for like 2 years, 3 years, and so gaining that sort of part of my lifestyle and then losing it suddenly was like, I'm not going to pretend it was like a earth-shattering like heartbreaking thing. Like obviously the pandemic sucked, like staying inside sucked, we all know this, we all had to go through it. But like I'm not going to sit here and say that like it destroyed my life or anything, because obviously it was a super cool thing and I loved it. But it's like a very, I know I'm very lucky to get to experience those things because yeah, because like don't get it twisted, like I grew up not being able to travel, and so being able to travel is something that I'm very thankful to have the ability to do. But yeah, just it was kind of weird being able to like traveling that much and that frequently and being able to enjoy it as much as I did, and then sort of not being able to for that amount of time. And so only recently, you know, in the past couple of years, have we sort of gotten back into it. And you know, I've been able to travel to hang out with friends and do different things. And also, I've had a couple different family trips. I talked about our cruise a little bit on some of the last couple episodes. But we had that earlier on in March. It's actually why I had to miss the Arlington opener. But we have a bunch of stuff coming up this year as well. This summer, we have the most recent trip that we have planned is me and my brother are going to Boston in, I believe, August to go to, we have a couple different things. We're going to go to a Red Sox Rangers game. I think we have tickets to go to a Red Sox Rangers game at Fenway. And then we also have tickets. Me and my brother are going to a bunch of concerts this summer, but we're going to a Ken Carson show in Boston. And then obviously being Boston and then I've never been there, I want to see a bunch of historical stuff as well. Another loud ass thunderclap. Damn, that shit was crazy. I went quiet because I was initially gonna cut that out, but actually that thunder was rolling for a minute. I might just leave that in. But yeah, going to Boston for all of that stuff, which is gonna be super super fun. But then also coming up, I believe we have a couple other concerts as well that my brother and I are gonna try to attend. We have a Gunna show that we're going to in Nashville. I think there's a Kid Laroi show that we're gonna go to in Nashville. I think Suicide Boys is also coming to Nashville. We're going to Ken Carson in Boston. So a bunch of different shows over the next couple months and over the summer, which I'm very excited about. I'm actually not a big concert guy, but my brother is, and so just kind of by nature of that, I've been going with him to a lot of these things, and it's been a ton of fun. But yeah, we have that Boston trip in August, but then with that, I think I have a trip, like one trip per month, I think, for just about the rest of the year, because I believe we have HCS Atlanta in July. Then we have that Boston trip I was just talking about in August. I believe Salt Lake City is in September. It might also be in August, but I'm not sure. But I believe it's in September. And then we have the World Championship in Seattle in October. So I should have one dope ass trip a month until the rest of the year, I think. Or at least until November or so, which is very exciting. And like I said, I don't say all that to like brag or anything. Don't get it twisted. I'm very blessed and lucky to be in the position that I am. Because like I said, growing up for years, that this was not the case. But yeah, definitely enjoying it and super thankful for it. And yeah, I want to start. I've talked about this a lot, but I want to start vlogging a lot of these trips and a lot of these like Halo tournaments and stuff specifically. Just because I think it would be super sick. It was one of the things I used to do a lot back in the day, and it produced some of, I think, our best content. But also, like, one of the things, bro, I'm realizing also as I record these podcasts that one of the phrases that I lean on a lot, that I repeat myself a lot with, is one of the things that I always talk about, or one of the things that I've talked about a lot, or blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to try to get better at that, because I'm sort of realizing in the moment that, holy fuck, I say that a lot. But as I have mentioned on some of the prior episodes of this podcast, a lot of the reason why we make a lot of the things that we make, specifically like the vlogs and the compilations and the stream highlights, is less so because we think they're dope videos or they're really clickable videos, which like that's part of the reason. Obviously, you want to make good stuff. But a lot of the main reason why we make this stuff is for me and my friends. It's like a very nostalgic thing. We have that as like these videos exist on the channel so that, you know, years down the line, whenever we're much older and, you know, our memories of these events start to fade, we can be like, yo, do you remember when this, and this happened? When we did that and so happened? Nice. But whenever we have those conversations, we have specific videos to point to. We can, instead of having to rely off of our memory and being like, yo, you remember when this happened? We can say like, yo, you remember when this happened? And then we can go watch the actual video where that took place. And having that as like a tool has been so sick, because we didn't realize it at the time. Obviously, we're not like, whenever I was making YouTube videos as a 16-year-old, I wasn't making them like, oh, I'll love this in 10 years. But like being able to watch it now, and especially like I made my career Call of Duty highlights video like 2 or 3 weeks ago at this point. But in that video, you see me go from a 14-year-old to a 24-year-old. You can literally see me grow up throughout the course of the video. And having the ability to have something like that I can just look back on at any point is super sick. And so yeah, I don't want to repeat myself a bunch, but that's super awesome. And so I don't want to like, it's already kind of unfortunate that like I've been to so many Halo tournaments over the past couple of years. Like I've traveled and done so many cool things over the past 2 years that I don't have videos for, that I just won't be able to like sort of do that with. And it's not like it makes that experience worthless or whatever because I didn't capture it, but like, I don't know, it would just be cool to capture it and have it on the channel. That's kind of all I'm getting at here. Another thing that you guys are probably gathering from this, if you've watched these last couple episodes, is that I am a crazy ass overthinker. I am all in my own head about a bunch of different shit, and I'll be crazy overthinking it and head casing about just any type of thing. And also my brain is just all over the place, as I'm sure y'all have noticed. So I hope that it's been somewhat easy to follow and at least still somewhat enjoyable to listen to. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for stuff I wanted to talk about today. Other than that, I mean, it's kind of the NBA playoffs have still been pretty lit. We're in the conference finals at this point. It's Celtics Pacers in the East and Mavs Wolves in the West. The Mavs are currently up 3-0 over the Wolves, which that series has been crazy. All 3 games have been pretty nuts. but the Mavs are up 3-0. And as somebody with a lot of Mavs friends, I gotta say I'm probably pulling for the Mavs. But I don't know how they're gonna look against. I think the Mavs could definitely beat the Pacers, but I don't know if the Pacers can beat the Celtics, and I don't know if the Mavs can beat the Celtics. I don't know if anybody can beat the Celtics, but we're gonna have to see. But yeah. Also, and I don't want to go into it too much because we're already coming up on the 1 hour mark. But I've talked a little bit recently about Doctor Who, and Doctor Who has been back. They just started the new season, I think like 3 weeks ago, and there's I think 4 episodes out from the new season now. But new Doctor Who has been very enjoyable. As somebody who's been a lifelong Doctor Who fan, I have been very much so enjoying the new Doctor and the new companion. Shooty Gowan and Millie Gibson are fantastic, and they're fantastic together. Some of the episodes have been a little bit hit and miss, but the one that we just got that was written by Stephen Moffat was very good. And there's actually another new one that's been released since recording this podcast. It came out like 2 or 3 days ago at the time of recording this, and I still have not seen it yet. So I'm very much enjoying new Doctor Who, and I think we'll probably have to have an in-depth discussion about it on one of these episodes, probably next week whenever we have a little more time. I don't want to go into a whole huge thing about it. Well, we're coming up on the 1 hour mark. But yeah, new Doctor Who's been pretty great. I like it a lot. Their chemistry, Shooty Gatwa and Millie Gibson, that is, their chemistry is like off the charts. They're amazing together, fantastic. And I love them as part of the show. But yeah, I think that's kind of going to do it for this episode of the highlight reel. Like I said, very, very long episode, a lot of stuff to talk about this week. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it was a good listen or a watch for you. Remember to go check out all my stuff. If you are watching this podcast on YouTube, remember to get down in the description. Check out all the links down there. Twitch, Twitter, Discord, second channel, all the stuff, as well as the link is down there where you can go check out the podcast page to listen to this podcast. You can listen to this podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Podcast, wherever you listen to your stuff. We've got the highlight reel there. And then also alternatively, flip side of that coin, if you are listening to this podcast on any of those platforms, remember to go check us out on YouTube and on Twitch. We are putting up YouTube videos pretty much every single day, streaming pretty much every single day over at youtube.com/reclaimer and twitch.tv/reclixmer. That's reclaimer with an X instead of an A. But yeah, we've been going apeshit on the content recently, and I hope, like I said, and like I've said a couple times throughout this episode, I hope that's been able to show. I've been having a ton of fun with it recently, and I'm going to keep making stuff. We've got London coming up at the end of this week. I'm doing XDefiant stuff. I'm doing Halo stuff. We got a bunch of content. It's been really great. But yeah, that is going to do it for another episode of the highlight reel. I appreciate you guys spending another week with me, spending some more time with me, taking some time out of your busy and I'm sure hectic schedules to spend a little time chatting with your boy. But yeah, until the next time, I love you guys. Hope you guys are doing great. Remember to get down in the comments and let me know how you guys are doing, as well as thoughts on the different stuff that we talked about throughout this episode. Remember to go check out the Patreon as well, and let me know what you think about that. But yeah, it's going to do it for another episode of the highlight reel. Love you guys. Have a dope rest of your day or night, or whatever you got going on. Catch y'all right back here next week. Catch y'all later.